All right, what's going on, guys? So today I am bringing you a big game hunter guide. Now, in general, big game hunter is not very difficult. I will be showing a few different hunts because as you level up the tier of dinosaur you're going to be doing, it does get a little bit more complicated, mainly because the dinosaurs have significantly more erratic movement. But yeah, it's really important for Iron Man because it's the best way for you to get Dragon Mattocks. It's, in my opinion, the most accessible way. And for mains, it's just pretty good money. So it's going to be basically the second best method you can do for skilling. So yeah, it's in relatively high demand with all the people doing group Iron Man stuff. And then again, just it's a good thing to do. So I figured, let's make a guide. Now, if you don't have any of the add-ons that would make it useful, you don't need to wear anything. If you have a Grace of the Elves, that is very good to have because it's a skilling method. So why not? If you have a Scripture of Bic, or a Scripture of Eladinus, or a Brooch of the Gods, you can wear those in your pocket slot. Otherwise, whatever is in your pocket slot doesn't matter. Your cape does not matter at all. Your ring should just be your highest tier luck ring. And your offhand, you can bring multiple if you want to. That's kind of sweaty and not really my preference. But you can bring a Santa's Fire Torch, as that will give you a chance to get double logs. Both the vines and the logs you use to make the spears to build the traps, those both count. You can also bring Skeka's Hypno Wand. That is really good whenever you're building the traps because you build your traps faster. And if you have it equipped when you start an encounter, it has a higher chance of spawning more dinosaurs, which is more loot. And if you don't have a mobile switch on any of your other pieces of gear and you're not going to use mobile, I believe it's called Shadow's Grace in your relic power, then you can also bring a mobile switch if you'd like. Your main hand does not matter, though if you want to, you can bring a hatchet with the Wise perk on it for a little bit more XP. But that's pretty much the only thing that you would really want here. You don't really want anything else. The rest of your gear does not matter at all. It's all completely meaningless. Beyond that, if you have dive, this is kind of mandatory. You don't literally need it, but it's very easy to make a single mistake here that can just ruin the fight. So having two different mobility spells makes this much more doable. You don't need mobile. You don't need to have double surge. You don't need to have double escape, but you kind of need to have dive. So I highly, highly recommend getting dive if you're going to pursue big game hunter. Again, you don't need it. I did my first 50 kills without it, but it feels really rough when you die because you don't have dive. Once you've been doing a little bit of big game hunter, you will unlock hunter marks. You see here, I did a couple of kills earlier, and you see you earn one hunter mark. The only thing that's ultra important here is these quick traps. This improves the speed which you build an arm traps by 30%. Basically what this means is that for the middle platform, instead of that taking 4 ticks, it takes 2, because that's just how the rounding works. And for the other ones, it does reduce it by around 30%. This will cost you about 50 hunts worth of dinosaurs, probably a little bit more, because I don't believe you're guaranteed a mark every single hunt. But that's the deal here. This is extremely potent, so I highly recommend getting your quick traps. And the last thing that you can upgrade is your base camp. There is a few upgrades here that are very useful. So if we go to manage base camp, you see here in the Hunter Lodge, the tier 1 gives you a 10% chance for double wood cutting. That's very nice. The tier 2 gives you 2.4 seconds for the dinosaur to catch you. This is extremely important because that means that when you're gathering resources, at least for tier 1 dinosaurs, you don't actually have to move when the dinosaur walks past you. I'll show you what that looks like, but you can just gather it and just completely ignore the dinosaur. And then tier 3, one type of frog is removed at the start of each encounter. I'll explain what that means when you actually start it, but this just makes it go by a little faster. It's not a super huge deal. Those are all of the possible gear upgrades and just passive upgrades that you can unlock. Let's actually start an encounter so that you guys can see what it looks like. Now in this account, I don't have anything higher than a tier 1 encounter, at least that I have regular access to food for. So I bring 8 sharks because the most amount you can use in a particular place is 7 encounters, I believe. I believe you usually get between 5 and 7. So you bring 8 because you need a duplicate to test the first one. You can bring 9 or 10 in case you get a double or triple encounter. But what I just do is I just use the bait box and I store all of my extra food in here. This requires quite a bit of resources to fill, but this is also something that you can do. Now we will start the encounter. And so this ring that the dinosaur has, this is its aggression meter. If you're standing inside of the ring, it will tick up to 10 or it will tick up to 14, depending on if you have the upgrade. And it will keep getting progressively more red just to show you how much progress you have. So that's the aggro meter. If that fills up to 14, it will fail one of the encounters. You can still keep hunting the dinosaur as long as it's not your last encounter. But yeah, it will fail if that goes wrong. Also, these tall grass will spawn randomly. If you're inside the tall grass, your aggro meter will not progress. It won't go down if you're in the dinosaur's range, but it won't progress. So that's very, very good. Also, you see the dinosaur just roared here. That means he's going to turn around. Notably, while he's doing that roar, it won't progress his aggro meter as well. So that's just something to keep in mind. Now, because I've been hunting this hour, I already know that the first frog is going to be red. But what you would do here for your first hunt is you want to make 5 spheres. Now, the reason you're making 5 spheres, you see here, he has 90,000 health. In order to kill a dinosaur, each spear will either do 30,000 damage, 15,000 damage, or 75. Now, what that means is there is a spear that is weak to, a spear that it hits for neutral, basically, and a spear that it is strong against. So that's going to be the determining factor. Since you're generally not going to be able to know right from the beginning, what I usually do is I just grab one of each frog. So we cut these 5 logs to make these 5 spears. We're going to grab one of each poison. And then there's a yellow frog over here. Generally, the frogs are going to be grouped together. So once you've hunted a dinosaur enough times, you'll just know that, okay, yellow's here, red's here. But okay, so now we have one of each sphere. Now, in order to build this rubble into the ballistas, you need 1 vine and 1 log. So we are going to gather 3 vines here. Okay, so now we need 3 logs total. Then we need a 4th log to build this pressure plate. Okay, so now we have everything that we need in order to start building. So now I'm just going to build the rubble. Typically, what I like to do is I like to build the rubble that the dinosaur just passed. Now I am building this 35% faster, so this is just going to be a little bit faster than what you guys are doing if you have no upgrades. But you can just surge over here, build this one. And then after you build it, you want to arm it as well. So the dinosaur is actually going to come back this way, so I'm going to start building this, and then I'm going to surge away from the dinosaur. Typically, when it comes to your movement, like your movement abilities, you always want to move in the opposite direction that the dinosaur is pathing. This is just because of the way that the aggro range is working, where even if you're walking away from the dinosaur and you have no mobility, you won't proc the dinosaur's, like you won't make it flee if you're always walking the opposite direction. So just be aware of that, makes life a lot easier. So we armed all of them. Now we're going to bait the middle. And it's going to show us exactly which spear is which. So we know here, the red spear is the one that's weak to. So, okay, with these last 2 spears, I'm just going to grab red poison from these red frogs. And whenever you don't instantly kill a dinosaur, it will always destroy one of the ballistas and destroy the pressure plate. So we just need to grab one more log to rebuild the pressure plate, and we need to rearm these 2 ballistas, and then we'll be good to go. Also, it's okay to stand in its aggro range for a little bit. Typically, you want to move out of its aggro range. Once it starts turning this yellow color, you will just want to move in the opposite direction. And now, because I know it's pathing down here, you just follow it and build the middle pressure plate. The tier 1 dinosaurs are the easiest because they basically walk in a big circle. So it's very obvious where the dinosaur is going. So you always have a relatively good idea of what to expect. So this is how the first kill of every hour that I do is going to look like. You just do that, and that's going to be a big game hunter kill. Now, something else you want to do is once you know what poison you're working with, the rest of your kills become a lot faster. So I know the poison's red, so here's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to quick start. We're going to go over here. We're going to gather 6 vines. Now, the reason we're gathering 6 is because there are enough red frogs here for me to gather 6 spears worth of poison, which is 2 entire kills. So we just gather 6 vines so that we can do 2 kills back to back. This is what I like to do. You do not have to do this. But once we have enough for 6 spears, we're just going to go and fletch them. Also, before you upgrade your bait box to the max, you're not going to be able to actually deposit here. But mine's upgraded to the max, so I'm just going to clear out my inventory a little bit. If you don't have this upgraded, this does get a little tedious. But again, it's so necessary that you just kind of have to do it. So I made my 6 spheres. Now I'm going to poison all of them. And then after this, we're going to gather 8 more logs because it lets us build 3 ballistas and do the middle platform. And then now with this setup, you just build a ballista and arm it, do that for all 3, build out the middle, loot the dinosaur, and then for the next dinosaur, you get to instantly just build everything. You don't have to do it again. Here again, we're just going to dive away from the dinosaur and stand on this side of the platform because the dinosaur isn't going to cross over this side of the platform. And that's going to be what a kill looks like when you know the poison of the dinosaur. Also, when this cutscene starts, you can hit escape, and then you don't have to watch any of this. Also, to be clear, the poison resets every time these go into hiding. So once you've killed this between 5 and 7 times, it's random. The dinosaur will go into hiding and it'll hide for an hour. It just means you can't kill it for an hour. So yeah, whenever it comes back out from hiding, whatever the first poison is going to reset. So you do have to re-hunt it again or re-figure out what the poison is. But at this point, you just have a pretty idea of how you actually go about doing that. But yeah, that's going to be it for the tier 1 dinosaurs. I'm going to hop on my main and try to get a double or triple encounter so you know what that looks like. So I will see you guys in a bit. Okay, so we finally got a double encounter. So generally, my recommendation for double encounters is to start the middle first. if you finish building the middle pressure plate, the way that they kind of pace around, they never cover one of these for long enough that you'll have any real problems. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do exactly what I just said, and I'm going to try to build out this middle pressure plate first. I should probably get some logs, so let's go and do that. And these are tier 3 dinosaurs, so in theory they should have some of the more erratic patterns. But one of the nice things about doubles is that they kind of walk in like this one is walking in this weird like oval shape here, and then this one's walking in another one. Actually, it's not even oval shape, it's just walking in a complete... I have no idea what that is. Which is, you know, that's one of the harder things about the higher tier dinos, is that it's pretty hard to tell what their pattern is. So right now, I'm going to grab 2. Because again, I have the tier 3 lodge, I don't actually have a 3rd frog. So we're just going to grab 2 frogs to test. We're going to build out this middle one. And there's a piece of grass here, so I will go to this piece of grass if necessary. But it looks like I'm not going to have to. So now we're just going to plan what I want to do next. I will get 2 more vines here so that I can build out 2 of these ballistas. I do get to play this a little more recklessly than you guys do because I have this Skeka's Hypno on. But again, this is more proof of concept rather than here's exactly what you should be doing. So we build the 1 ballista, and honestly, we can just shoot this. So we'll see what kind of damage this does. And it did 30, so now we know that they're going to be blue. So we just need to rebuild this middle, which again, this is always the hardest part. We're going to build 6 ballistas here, or 6 spears rather. Okay, so we'll wait for this guy to leave, and we'll just build up all of these now. So because this one is right here, I feel comfortable building that out and diving to this grass. Just gives me a brief grace period so I can just chill and figure out what my next move is. But as you can see, these double and triple dinosaurs, they get pretty hectic pretty quickly. So it's definitely... having your extra mobility here is very, very crucial to making sure that you get a clean kill. I've done 1 double without dive, and it was miserable. So that's kind of what I would recommend moving. So we'll get our 5 poison, because that's what we need to kill all of these guys. I will start building this. Yeah, it looked like he was walking away from me, so that's really good. We can move in the opposite direction of this guy. This guy should walk down here, so I can dive up here. Load this one. I can go into the tall grass. But you can actually see that building and loading these is pretty simple when there's a double. It's the middle platform that's the most dangerous. I'm actually going to retrieve this spear. I almost messed up. That was really stupid. Okay, so now we'll do this. I forgot that I already hit the first dinosaur once, so that's why I had to retrieve the spear. It's all good. So we got this one. Now, what I like to do on these higher tier dinosaurs is I like to arm all of the ballistas first and then loot the body. Also, one of the nice things about doubles is that your ballistas all stay built, and once you clear off this dinosaur, you don't need to rebuild the middle. Very, very, very. Doesn't look like you guys are going to be able to see it here, but one thing that happens with these higher tier dinosaurs is that occasionally Jadinko will spawn on the battlefield. Whenever that happens, the dinosaur will stop what they're doing and walk to the Jadinkos, and then they'll go back on their normal path. So that's just something to make sure you're keeping track of. If you see a dinosaur roar, just always check the battlefield. Okay, are there any Jadinkos? Now, the main reason that doubles and triples are so good is that your loot gets doubled and tripled, which is very potent. So all of your bone drops, which again, this is the most important thing if you're an Iron Man, besides the Mattocks, obviously, but your bone drops get doubled on the second dinosaur, and they get tripled on the third dinosaur, which is exceptionally powerful. Which means if you successfully do a triple, you actually end up getting 6 times the amount of bones that you would get from one, right? So, yeah, hopefully this guide shows you how you can go about doing Big Game Hunter and how you can get clean kills and start getting your Dragon Mattocks. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.